Mm.
How you doing, Bob?
Good, Greg.
That's good.
How are you?
Yeah, hanging in there.
There we go. What's up, guys?
How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing. We got 10 minutes. I'm running outside for a smoke. I'll see you guys in a second.
All right.
So in this video, I'm going to provide a beginner's guide on how to invest in precious metals and how you can get started for less than $100. Before we get started, just a tiny request. If you find any benefit from this video, I would love it if you could just like and leave a comment down below, because it helps us immensely in getting the message out about financing freedom to the world, a human right that we believe every single person deserves on this planet. Thank you in advance. As always, everything that I share in this video is not financial advice. It is sharing in the backstory. With that being said, the way that I look at investing is very conservative. It's very boring, to be honest. It's not flashy, like you see in the movies. You don't lose your mind. You can't not sleep at night. I sleep very well at night, and I try to set up my investments right now in this stage of my life very securely, because I want to plan for my future. Retirement, because I don't think there's going to be retirement funds in the future, because things have made such big boo-boo, same as government. So I want to be able to protect my family in the future, protect myself in the future. and just have a solid base whilst also sleeping really well at nighttime. But I completely understand that some people are more attracted to these riskier investments, such as trading stocks, because it's a lower barrier to entry. Less money is required for you to go in, but it is riskier, so you can lose a lot more. Any investment is a gamble. Life is a gamble. You can lose your job tomorrow. Same with investment. All of them have a potential to crash. No one really knows how to invest in the future. We don't really know what the financial situation is going to look like in 10 years. We're going through an enormous shift right now, so we don't really know what it's going to look like. So everybody's kind of just a little bit betting on what's going to work. And then there is a way to bet on safer investments, such as property investing and precious metals, and the risky ones, which is trading, for example. And so because I do love having a stable mind and being able to sleep at night, I have chosen to go down the route of securing my finances really safely at the beginning. And now that I have a solid base, I am going to be exploring more of the riskier investments. However, probably not that much because this strategy works so well. As I said, it's not very sexy. It definitely isn't very sexy. The return on your investment is a lot slower and smaller, but I'm okay with that. I'm in this for the long haul. To be completely honest, I wouldn't actually invest in precious metals as one of the early investments that I would make in growing my investment portfolio because they don't really make money. For me, precious metals is kind of just like my own bank. I'm just storing things for the future in case I need to withdraw from that or bet on that or somewhere where I can safeguard my cash against inflation. And I'll talk about inflation very shortly. My first strategy for growing my investment portfolio would be to build up as much of my income as possible through business. I think business is one of the greatest ways you can increase your income, and then looking at owning homes, property investments. So I wouldn't go for precious metals first and foremost. A lot of people do judge my investment strategies, just so you know. This is why this is not financial advice, it's education of what I want to do. Because I look at other wealth professionals that are way ahead of me and I see what they're doing and I want to replicate that as well in some degree. For example, there's a man called Nathan Birch. He's one of the biggest property investors in all Australia with maybe 200, 300 properties, maybe more by now. And he heavily talks about investing in precious metals as well and just doing the slow, steady investment strategies. So if you don't like the strategy, that's fine. There are plenty of other YouTube channels talking about different ways of investing your money. So now you might understand why I would consider
Someone's
myself-
got to mute themselves to stop the conversation, ladies.
Okay. Still time. Attorney Galvin, you made it early.
Yep, I'm on time.
Nice. To do 7:30. And we're already recording as is.
Hey Rob, Seth here with WRPS.
What's going on, sir?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
No, we're doing good. I think everything's already turned over. Everything's already started. Everything's already recorded.
Yep, we're recording. We're live on YouTube, and I made you host. I just wanted to check in with you before I left the meeting.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for doing that. We're good to go.
Awesome. All right. Have a good night.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks. Bye.
Who in this? Tim. Okay. Oh. All right, I got 7:30 on the clock. Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to the May 3rd, 2022 edition of the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals. All members of the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals are participating remotely. That would be Greg Tansey, myself, Rob Rosa, Robert Baker Sr., Robert Baker Jr., Mr. Timothy Haynes, and Mr. Stephen Galley. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing. You're off. We got a, there you go.
Put a motion to open.
Okay. I got it. There we go. So we got a motion from Tim. We got a second from Mr. Baker Jr. Let's see. Roll call. Mr. Tansey.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Sr.
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes.
Mr. Haynes.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. All right. I need to read the legal ad. 7:30 p.m. remotely conducted public hearing will be held by the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals on Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. on the application submitted by Douglas Mendez de Andrade, 18B Bates Street, Abington, Massachusetts, for a special permit pursuant to section 415-15.c4, automobile service stations, repair shops, and agencies to allow applicant to repair, display, and sell used cars. The special permit will allow the applicant to seek a Class II license from the Board of Selectmen. The tenant of this property is Douglas Mendez Andrade. Mr. Andrade, am I pronouncing that correct?
Yes.
Okay. DBA Andrade. I'm sorry. I don't want to butcher this.
That's all right. Andrade.
Andrade?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I apologize. The tenant of this property is Douglas Mendez Andrade, DBA Andrade Auto Service and Sales. The site is located in an I-1 limited industrial zone, section 415-15 of the bylaw, located at 250 Webster Street, and is further identified as lot 29 on the Rockland Assessors Map 35. This one I'm going to destroy. The owner of the property is Galomeli Shahanaji and Neela Shahanaji, 10 Grove Street, number 2, Belmont, Massachusetts, 02478. The applicant and all interested parties are advised to check the town website and the zoning board's webpage for additional information. Further details and plans for the project are on file with the town clerk and the zoning board office. All righty. Mr. Andrade, I believe that you're going to kind of guide us through here. Talk to us about what you want to do.
We want to do here. I already in the business for about 10 years. I just opened here my own, and we try to make a good location for the customers, sells car and repair cars. And we know we have a little problem with the outside because the old guy should be changed the signs, and the signs is ugly. We already doing the application to replace the signs, everything.
Mhm.
And keep the place clean, nice and clean. Was very dirty before. We already start cleaning it out, and that's all.
Okay. Anything else you want to say? Because I know we have some site plans to look at and,
Yeah, and this is a family business. It's me and my father work here together. It's not a people that wanna ruin the town. We wanna do business for a long time, you know.
anything else you want to say or?
That's it.
All right, because now we should dig into the site plans. There was a class 2 license. I'm not sure how many of the board members were on. I know Gregor, I know you were here. When the last special permit was issued for this site. And as far as I know, as far as I can tell here, this site plan looks like proposed site plan. All this stuff was technically supposed to be done with the last guy. Can you tell me what's going on? Because when you compare the existing conditions plan that was given, when you compare that to this site plan, and then you compare it to what's actually out there based on Google Earth, need to know what's going on here because your existing conditions plan doesn't show really what's going on the site.
Okay, because I don't know much about what should do. The old guy was here. Dude, he did a lot of stuff too. Fence, some fence. You have to put a fence and stuff. But I know that we keep the same amount of the cars we have. We don't add any more cars, anything else.
Okay. Before I go to my board members, Mr. Rubel, can we talk to you real quick?
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
How are your feelings on this? Because I know there was a lot of stuff that was supposed to be done with the last class 2 that doesn't look like it was done.
Yeah, the issues that I had was the left side of the main structure and the right side. There were never supposed to be any cars parked there. And there were always cars parked on the left and the right side. There were times where we lost the front buffer zone. And they were over amount of cars, over than what the permit was needed. Those are things that, I try to enforce. They moved them out, then they moved them back. I think this new owner here is more apt to work with me than the old one. If you want to stay with what was there before, I strongly suggest that we keep the left and right side of the building free for fire apparatus, and pay attention to that front buffer. Those are the 3 issues I had.
Understood. I'm gonna bring it back to the board members. Mr. Tanzi, have you had a chance to review everything?
I have, and I recall what Mr. Rubel was saying. They did park a lot of cars all down that left side buffer. And that left side buffer was supposed to be landscaped. If memory serves me correctly, what they did is they took arborvitaes and they planted them in a good sized bushel bucket and set them in a line down the left hand property line. And that might have lasted for, I don't know, a period of time, a relatively brief period of time. And then, we had to move them when we had to plow snow. And of course, they never got put back. And instead of putting the plants back, they put cars back there. That was one thing that I thought was an act that was not in good faith before this board. We did have a right side buffer, and I believe that was because on the right side is a residential use, if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves me correctly on that one. I think that the limit of pavement, accounts for that will provide for that buffer. Mr. Rubel said that the right side wasn't clear. Is that cars abutting the structure itself, I believe? And I think that kind of prevented two-way traffic on the right side, if memory serves me correctly. So what we would be looking to do is to bring a little bit more, or a lot of it more, stability and control in this operation. I mean, what is proposed here is what was approved back, I believe, in 2015. And if the applicant is willing to adhere to that plan, I think he would fare well. I do remember there was a big discussion about oil water separators. And I think they comply with that respect. I remember Pat Brennan was out there. He checked on it. I think at this place at one point, they were spray painting without any protective gear, without any booths. I mean, total, complete and utter OSHA violations. So, we're looking for somebody, an applicant who can run a tight ship here. It's a limited site. The lot has a limited area. It's a 5-pound bean bag, and if you start shoving 10 pounds of beans in the 5-pound bag, there's going to be some problems. So that's my take on it.
Thank you, Mr. Tanzi. I appreciate that. Mr. Haynes, I'm coming to you, sir.
Hey. I was confused. So maybe can anyone explain the previous decision seemed to ask for maybe Attorney Galvin's going to explain the disparity between it seemed like the old one was calling for all these things, and so please tell me what's happening and why these things weren't done.
Well, I can't tell you why it wasn't done, but I have copies of the decisions from August and October of 2016, when Mr. Shahan Agni was in front of you all asking for a special permit, and we imposed about 40 conditions on him. And they simply just didn't comply with those conditions. I have all those conditions, and those are the types of conditions that we typically put on a use like this, because the site back then was problematic. And, I'm looking at a picture of it now, and obviously it needs to be cleaned up. And hopefully this new operator will do a good job. But the most important thing is they got to just comply with these conditions. And by the way, Mr. Chairman, I did send you the August 2nd decision, which was modified in October of 2016. But those were the typical conditions, and I'd be happy to go through them. I haven't seen the site plan for this, so.
Identical to what they supplied to us the last time.
Okay.
Yeah, concrete curbs, should be like looking at it, I'm like, oh, this looks like what we should be doing. But clearly the issue that the concern I had is the previous decision sort of directed towards the owner, the property owner, and said the decision will be in the owner's name. So is there something that's unusual here, and that the applicant? Sorry, Attorney Galvin, were you going to?
I was just going to say, the way around this is, these things have to be done before they can open for business. That's the way you prevent this from happening again. Or not only does it have to be open and in compliance before business starts here, but it has to be maintained in compliance in order to continue to operate. And what we used to do is we used to take a 1-year look at it and ask, that's what we do. Look back at it after 1 year of operation, see where they were.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry interrupting you guys. This is Shahanari. They call me, they know me by Al. And I have something to say to Mr. Attorney. Whatever any objects, anything on that paperwork, you said, I don't know how many. When we opened the business, the other Mr. Adriano opened the business, everything was complied, and Mr. Ruber came over and he okayed it. And yes, absolutely right about the plant and about the cars, and but I see everything talking over here, everything negative about that property, with all due respect, about the water and oil separator. It is over and over. This question has been asked, and the engineer came over, and engineer checked. I installed water and oil separator over there. And yes, Mr. Will Charles, when I have a disaster in my family, I was away for about 3 years. Unfortunately, that was out of control. He did some spray painting, and then I came over here. I basically asked him to leave, and financially, I got a lot of damages with that gentleman over there. And about the parking the cars in the left side of the property, looking to the property, about to the chef's carpet, absolutely right. But on the right, I have about 80 feet to the fence, and I installed the fence because of this business, and that is basically directed by the town. And if I am not going to be able to park the cars on the right side, I am not talking next to the building. I am talking about displaying the car right by the edge of the planting, where the car is going to be parked. Am I missing something? I don't know.
Sir, you're missing something, because we're talking about the cars that were parked up against the building and cars that were parked on the left side of the building. The right side seems to be in relative compliance. Your new existing conditions plan doesn't call out the height of the fence, so we don't know if it's the 8-foot fence that you were proposing. The existing conditions plan that you showed us is lacking the actual information that's out on the site. So it's kind of an issue. There's a lot of stuff on this site plan that the applicant was responsible to do. There's some striping out there, but it's all faded. You can't see it.
It's going to be all, I'm sorry, it's going to be all painted again. It's going to be, everything is going to be per order. Everything is going to be clean. This is that is why, we have another gentleman over there. He's going to be operating, as you see, clean and nice. And basically, since this gentleman came over, everything is completely changed, thank God. And that is why we are here for get the license for him. And you're absolutely right. You know, everything is going to be painted again, and the planting is going to be over there. And this is the new gentleman, and I am so happy with him. This is me about him, and up to you guys.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate that. Not a problem busting in like that. I wanted to talk to you anyway, because again, you are the owner of the property. I want to get back to the board members. Tim, do you have anything else? Are you good right now, or?
The only question I had, then more specifically, and I'm in agreement with what Attorney Galvin is saying, like if we just add some stronger enforcement language, everything about it seems okay. The vegetated grass buffers were the one part of this. I wasn't sure what the original intent was. So I'm hoping either Greg or Rob, you can, you can sort of shed, or somebody can shed some light on. There was a thing about removing the asphalt and not adding any more. So I wasn't sure if they were actually supposed to remove some of the asphalt on the west side, or if those planters were okay. So that would be the only question I had about the plan, whether that asphalt's supposed to stay or they're supposed to install, like sort of remove the asphalt and install a more permanent landscape buffer.
That I don't remember. Greg, do you remember? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it seems to be, that question seems to be a little bit familiar to me. I think I had pretty much the same question. And if memory serves me correctly, I think we decided to just have a fence and leave the existing vegetated buffer as is, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, don't quote me on that. This is almost 7 years ago, but I think that was what finally came to rest. But I
don't think there is no vegetated buffer on that side. That's pretty much paved. That's pretty much paved right
on the right side.
Oh, right side, that was pre-existing. Right side, that was pre-existing grass and all that. I thought you were talking about the left side. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm talking about the left side.
Okay.
In the conditions, the 35 said vegetated grass buffers shall be installed by September 15th, 2016. And
I have an answer for this, sir. I'm sorry interrupting you.
Oh, great.
The reason for that, they said because there is a question about this land is clean or not, they decide not to do that, even though Jeff's carpet, he had a power to bring the ExxonMobil, basically remove the soil and clean his land. And they said, because there is a question, Mr. Ruber must be remembered that is why they decide not to touch the asphalt, because there might be some question on the land. And that is why they directed us to go ahead and put the plan. And unfortunately, again, because of my situation, back and forth to overseas, everything was destroyed. And right now, all the flower box and everything is over there. And I already talked to Douglas, and everything is going to be per site plan, the last site plan I provided to you guys, and or whatever any another site plan is, we're going to go ahead and absolutely comply the rules and the regulations.
Mr. Rubel, Al's saying that you might remember some of this. Do you remember that? Not tearing out the pavement?
I can remember when the structure was built that they had to do core areas. I believe it was either 8 feet or every 6 feet for posts, because they could not dig there, because the tar could not be disturbed because of DEP. So that whole building, if I'm not correct, I believe is post and beam. There's no foundation on that building. They got posts every 8 feet where they had to core the holes to drill.
Right, so basically, if we're looking at this, when it comes to the vegetated buffer, blah, blah, we're not gonna touch the pavement. We're gonna leave it, we can't touch the pavement. That's what it sounds like.
That's right.
Okay. Tim, got any more?
Yeah, the same was true. Is that also true at the front? There was a little bit of grass in front of where those parking spaces that are at the very front of the lot. There was a grass strip that was proposed for that too. Is that also? I think it's showing on the new plan. Is that or is that
In front of those like handicap spaces says maintain existing pavement and install planters in this area.
Install planters, great. So on the plan, I think it says remove existing pavement. So that was the original plan from 2016. It says remove existing pavement. So Tom, don't dig up any asphalt. That also applies to that front buffer as well.
That's right.
Okay.
And I believe the bumpers that were in front for curbs, we ended up going with the vinyl, or should I say plastic curbs instead of concrete. We gave them that relief there. I don't know if we ever took and marked the parking spaces though. I don't think we did. What's that?
Yes.
No,
yes,
Al, I mean numbering them. Did we number them?
Yes,
Well,
all of them was
It
numbered.
might be there. It is possible. Google Earth has
The
a
numbers are over there.
yeah. Google
The
Earth has a
existing
bad.
number is there. Sorry.
So,
Yes. All of them numbered, and the existing numbers over there right now, but needs to be refreshed, as you said. And another thing, we didn't have any. I'm sorry. Sometimes I misunderstood. We didn't have any grass area in the buffer zone in front of the building. It was always like this, and but again, if I am not mistaken, we could have some kind of evergreen trees on the flower boxes on the front of the cars. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Ruber, correct me if I am wrong.
well, what's that, Al?
Yes, I'm talking about that buffer zone in front of the building, right by the Webster Street. And if I am not mistaken, the gentleman said we had some grass area over there. We didn't have no grass area over there. It was always.
No, that's all tied, but they had those vinyl buffers, those stops there.
Absolutely, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
And they
that
were
is-
removed for snow plowing and then put back
yes.
up.
Yeah, it's gonna replace. It will be replaced.
So what I was referring to was the original plan from 2016, and the conditions were originally to put grass there. So I just wanted to clarify that that decision was changed and the planters were okay. So it's not something we would be looking for now.
No, I don't think if we can't rip up any tar, I don't want to even think about doing a front grass buffer. No matter how cool it would be, I don't think we can. Tim, what else? What else you got, sir?
That's it. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. Mr. Baker Sr.
As of 2 o'clock today, there was a car and a 1-ton dump truck parked on the left side. There was 4 cars parked up against the building on the right side being serviced. So he's saying the new owner is working to comply, but he's not right now. I went by there three different times this weekend, and there was cars all over the place. They were double parked on the right side. There was cars on the left side. There's no numbered spaces out front for handicap parking spaces. There's no bumper logs out there. There haven't been bumper logs out there for over 2 years. There's no signs showing exit only on the left side of the parking lot. No signs showing enter and exit on the right side shown from the plans. Now, in the special conditions revised September 6, 2016, number 12, the applicant must maintain a vegetated buffer zone as shown on the site plans approved by the board. A 10-foot buffer zone on the left side, west side, a 10-foot vegetated buffer zone on the front, street side from parking space D25 to H1, HC1, and in front of CP1 parking space next to the entrance. The right side of the property shall start off with a 15-foot buffer, gradually increasing to a 30-foot buffer. The buffer looks like it hasn't been maintained since the building was put up. It's overgrown with weeds. It's got, the cars are back and trucks are backed up over the buffer zone. The bumper logs aren't anywhere. I think we should really have this property cleaned up to the original revised plans of September 6, 2016, and then he can come back and ask for the permit. I don't think we should just say, okay, yeah, you're gonna clean it up, we'll give you the permit. I think he should show good faith and clean the property up like it should be, like we did to someone else in town before we issue the permit.
Would that be inclusive, of cutting up the pavement to make a grass buffer?
No, it said to put loam and seed over the pavement of at least an 8-inch thick loomed area and then grass it, so that you wouldn't disturb the pavement. That's in the decision.
I know, and I know that. Just out of curiosity, though, how is that loam and seed going to stay in place if there's not a curb to hold it? You know what I mean? I'm just throwing it out there.
They could put a pre-poured Cape Cod berm that would hold the loom and seed back.
All right, so there is a part, so.
Or they could put railroad ties down it, stake them in the ground.
All right.
And then put it in there. There's supposed to be planters, a whole bunch of planters all over the property, and there's not one.
All right.
It's
so what you're saying is leave the pavement there, but put in loam and seed in an in an overall 8-inch planter.
Yes,
Okay.
in decisions here, I've read them a couple of times, and it's talking about that, putting loam and seed over the blacktop to create the buffer zone.
Okay.
And it would keep the cars from parking in the buffer zone.
Mr. Rubin, what do you think about that?
Oh, I'm reading two different issues here. I'm reading from September, then I'm reading August, and on September 6th, change to read as follows. The applicant must maintain a vegetated buffer zone as shown on the revised site plan of September 12, 2016, approved by the board. The west side buffer, the existing pavement shall remain. The applicant shall install 12 planters, 3 feet in diameter with perimeters. The planters shall be installed starting at 3 feet from the utility pole located near the left corner of the building. Planters shall be installed 10 feet on center along the west buffer zone, approximately 7 feet from the property line. The planters are to be maintained by the applicant. There shall be no vehicles parked along the west buffer zone. The planters on the west side of the property can be moved to another location during the month of December through March, so that this area can be used for snow storage as shown on the revised site plan. So
Yes.
we were talking about the planters that were there, they died and they just got disappeared. Is there a possibility of some kind of artificial planters where they don't die? I don't know. It's up to the board. I'm just saying that at one time that area was used for snow.
Mhm.
Planters had to be removed.
And they never got put back.
That's right.
Okay. Mr. Baker, I understand I absolutely understand your issue here. During deliberation, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure out how to make this work. You got anything else? Did you wanna throw anything else out?
Not right this minute.
All right. So you're in a holding pattern until you come up with something?
No?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Baker Jr., talk to me, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is my understanding correct that Mr. Andrade is seeking this special permit because he's the new tenant? Okay, not the new owner, but the new tenant.
New tenant, yep.
Okay. And I believe, Mr. Andrade, you had said earlier that your intention, if the requisite approvals are granted, is to conduct used car sales and mechanical repairs. Is that correct?
You wanna unmute yourself, Mr. Andrade?
Yes.
There we go.
Okay, no body work, is that right?
No, no bodies, no bodies.
Okay. One of the things I'm a bit confused about, when Mr. Galvin had suggested as an enforcement mechanism to deny operation until the requisite permitting is accomplished. Mr. Galvin, is my understanding correct or incorrect that the special permit and the Class 2 license are conditions precedent to Mr. Andrade operating his business at that location?
Yeah, they should have, this stuff should have all been done and maintained.
Okay.
I mean, the board would be within its rights to actually refuse to approve a new special permit in light of the fact that there's things that haven't been done that should have been done.
But I think my question is more along the lines of things being done that shouldn't have been done. Specifically, Mr. Andrade operating the business without the special permit and without the Class 2 license.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, he seems like a very nice man, but he's,
right. That's
no,
not a
he-
question, yeah.
yeah, he shouldn't be there without the special permit.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. He is operating under the ex business owner. He wasn't operating by himself just recently because of we were close to the meeting. He just put his card and everything. Basically, everything was under Mr. Adriano's operation. He wasn't.
Where was he? Where is he now? Is he not occupying the building?
No, he is not. He just moved us his cars and everything, and that's it.
As of when?
And he has his own business over in Douglas. Where did he move?
Randall.
Randolph.
All right. When did this happen?
Douglas, when he came over and moved out his cars.
Was December.
All right. So he moved out in December. So January, February, March, April, and now May. Well, we can't count May, but for the last 4 months, what's been going on at the property?
Again, Mr. Douglas was operating over there, but he was the responsible man.
It's understood, but he was operating without the permit.
He was operating under Mr. Adriano.
No, where
That's
Mr. Adriano moved off the property. He took his operation off the property, so he loses the special permit.
But basically, business is under his name, and the sign is under his name.
But he no longer
Rockland-
occupies the property.
The
He no longer-
prior special permits were issued under the name Shahanagi.
All right, so
That's me.
Al had the special permit then the whole time.
Yes,
That is me, under my name was over there too.
Oh, okay, so you were responsible for making sure that all this stuff was done prior, but, okay. And we know what was going on with your family. We understand that, and we
If I
appreciate
am
it.
responsible, sir, I am not gonna say I am not, and I take all the responsibilities, and that's it. I cannot point my finger to anybody. If my name is under a special permit, and yes, I am responsible, and I am the one basically, whatever you guys decide, I am ready for it.
Okay. All right. Where'd we go? We said, Mr. Baker Jr., we're good there. Mr. Galley, talk to me, sir.
Well, I was gonna ask a question about whether there are enough parking spots, but I was looking and I saw that there were enough parking spots. No one mentioned it, so I knew I didn't come up with it first. So that was really the only thing I was thinking of. So I have no other questions.
Sounds good to me. I'm really not thrilled with the fact that not a lot of the conditions were ever met. So, and that's a big issue. I'm gonna open it up to the general public. I don't see anybody from the general public that wants to talk about it, whether good or bad. Attorney Galvin, any recommendations here?
no, I mean, I think we have to get them into compliance here, or else, the possibility of granting this fine gentleman a permit is really up in the air.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Can I make a suggestion?
Mr. Tanzi got there first. Go for it, sir.
Why don't we continue the meeting? Give him a chance to bring it into compliance, give him a month.
Take some time, man. That's gonna take some time.
Well, they had 3 years or since 2015 to bring it into compliance. So, or whatever time they need to bring it into compliance, but there can't be any cars, any business operation on that lot. All cars, I mean, the doors have to be locked until he brings it into compliance. And when it's in compliance, come back to the board and we'll decide on it. But you can't give them a green light and expect that, they're gonna promptly bring it into compliance. In fact, I could make an argument that you probably can't bring it into compliance fully while it's fully operating. Well, it's there's just too much activity in such a small area.
I'm sorry, I have a question from Mr. Attorney. As I understand, my name is on the special permit, right, sir?
It is, yes.
Okay. If that is the case, so right now I am the responsible person. And like you said, 1 month, that is my responsibility to bring everything up to code. And again, under my responsibility, under my special permit, this gentleman can put the bread on the table, not lock the door, then where he's gonna go, what he's gonna do. I am taking the responsibility and I am going over there by myself and make sure everything up to code and everything per plan. Then you guys, Mr. Ruber, come over, take a look at it. If you guys decide to give me a continue my special permit, fine. If not, then what else we can do? We're gonna close the door, and that place is gonna be same as before, and like a dump.
I agree. I have a problem with unfortunately, I have a problem with stopping a man from working at this point. Mr. Andre, I'm gonna assume that this is your job. You don't have another shop anywhere else, right?
This is my job. This is my.
Okay. I do have a problem with stopping a man from working and putting food on the table for his family. I do have a problem with that. But I have a bigger problem with the fact that the site is not in compliance. So,
Rob, I like Greg Tansey's idea of continuing the matter for a reasonable period of time before you bless anything and giving the property owner a chance to do the right thing here. I mean, he's heard how unhappy the board is with the current conditions. You know, and if he's not going to be in compliance, then the new gentleman's not going to be able to be a tenant there. And, you know, we're going to have a bigger issue. That will eliminate the issue for the current property owner, but you know, he said he's going to take responsibility. He's telling you all, you know, let's see if he does it. Give him a reasonable period of time. I think it's unrealistic to do all of this in 30 days, candidly, because there's a lot that needs to be done. But, you know, 45 and 60 days is probably more realistic if we're being honest about it.
With all due respect to you, sir, with all due respect to you, could be done in 30 days. Per plan could be done in 30 days. I give you my word. Could be done
Up
in
to the
30
board. It's not up to me. I don't
All we
decide.
need to do, move the cars over there, paint it again, put the numbers, put everything over there. Trust me, I can do it. And ask from Mr. Rubus, see if I can do it or not. What I did on this building, how I did on this building, Mr. Rubel was with me from the beginning to the finish.
At
And
the
it was
beginning,
amazing what I
at the
did.
beginning, Al, at the beginning, you had met all the conditions. With the first tenant that was in there, he was terrible. The second one wasn't much better. We went through, they destroyed your property. You were away, you had family issues, but when you came back, you were shocked just as much as I was.
I agree with you. I was under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I wasn't around, to be honest with you. Everybody was thinking I sold my property to Mr. Charles. Everybody was thinking. They didn't even know I am not here because I had a big disaster. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. But again, I am the man to take all the responsibilities. And I am the man say, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
On the auto repair, can they still do auto repair? They just don't have their class 2 until they meet all the conditions.
What's the zone again?
Industrial.
The industrial.
Remind me, is auto repair by right there?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
Auto repair you can do.
Yeah, so they can still do auto repair. They just can't sell the cars.
Okay, so that's a good start.
Yeah.
That's a good start. I would like, regardless of the time period, what I would want to see is an as-built site plan, once everything is all done, showing that on paper, and potentially a site visit, at least a site visit by Mr. Rubel. Then we can start talking. I would need to see this on paper. I would need an absolute visual by Mr. Rubel, and then I think we could start talking class 2, special permit for the class 2. I don't know, does everybody else agree? Does that sound about right?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
To Attorney Galvin, who has the used car license now? The previous tenant that is left?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't know who has the
Al,
used car
do you have a
license.
license?
There isn't one right now, Bob.
Huh?
There isn't one, Bob.
Okay, then they can't, Rob is right. They can't sell the used cars
That's right.
right now.
So I would like to, and if Al's saying 30 days, then let's continue it for 30 days. Submit a new site plan once it's all said and done, showing that the spaces have been restriped, painted. Restriped, numbered, make sure that the height of the fences are all called out. And again, if you look at the site plan, the proposed site plan, it's identical to what was given to us the last time. Again, you had vegetated buffers, but I look at a Google Earth picture. It doesn't even come close to looking like what it does on the site plan. So I am gonna want to see a survey site plan.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. What I said, in 30 days, I'm gonna go on the last special permit the town provided to me. I'm gonna go through that, and I'm gonna make sure everything is gonna be per that plan and per that all they ask from me. That is what I meant. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there is anything else I need to be done.
No, because if you look at the site plan, that you proposed, that you gave to us, the proposed stuff,
Okay,
it's virtually identical to what was given to us the last time. So what I would suggest, and this is what I would suggest. If you're saying 30 days, we'll continue it for 30 days. But what you would need to, here's the problem. You would need to provide us a surveyed site plan, I'll say a minimum of a week before the meeting. So that cuts down your 30 days to only 3 weeks.
So why we don't, why if I ask, probably realistically, Mr. Attorney said 45 days. Then
you can ask for whatever you want.
Yeah, 45 days.
We're giving it to you. We're asking
45
you
days is more realistic.
Okay.
45 days more realistic. I can do it.
Mr.
Because
Galvin?
we're cutting another week.
Mr. Galvin, does that work for you? Does
I
that
think
sound
it
right?
works fine. We just pick the next hearing date that's closest to 45 days. And, the property owner knows that, he could lose his tenant and, everything that's left here if he doesn't get this into compliance.
Deb, you have the schedule. How's 45 days from now?
June 21st.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to continue this hearing to June 21st at 7:30. To give the applicant the opportunity to clean up the site and be in compliance with the original conditions.
Okay.
And to give us a as-built plan after the work has been done.
Nice, thank you. I've got a motion. I need a second.
I'll second that.
I got double seconds on here. I'm going to give it to Mr. Baker Jr. And just for the record, I want to make sure that this is in the record. Deb, I never said who was voting tonight. That's myself, both Bakers, Mr. Haynes and Mr. and Mr. Actually, I'm gonna bump Mr. Tanzi and I'm gonna make Mr. Galley vote on this one.
Okay,
Does that work for you, sir?
works for me if it works for you.
All right, Mr. Tanzi, do you feel slighted?
Gary.
All right, so that's the voting members. So here we go. I got a motion. I got a second. Roll call. Myself, yes. Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
Mr. Galley,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes.
Motion carries. 45 days. Let's make it happen. I'm only assuming, Tom, you're going to be kind of in communication with Al to kind of oversee this a little bit.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm asking Mr. Rubel.
Yep, we'll be on it. Hopefully he can do what he did when he first started
Right. No, I agree.
and keep it that way.
It's
What was the date? What was the date for the continuance?
21st of June.
21st of June,
yes.
right? Okay.
Deb, double checking, Deb.
Yeah, that 21st of June.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I have my son just pointed something to me. He just married, and his father-in-law invited us to Turkey for 2 weeks, and I didn't even think about that. And so I am going to be asking for 60 days because 2 weeks he already purchased the ticket and everything. We want to go ahead and just meet two family. And that
Mr.
is
Galvin, how do we solve this?
my apology.
I will withdraw my motion.
He can amend his motion.
All right, do you want to amend the motion, Mr. Baker?
I'll amend the motion till July 19th.
Deb, does that work?
That works.
Okay, amending the motion just in date for July 19th.
Second the motion as amended.
We got a second on the motion as amended. Roll call. Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Senior?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else
Couple
want to
up.
call them a son getting married or going away to no? We're good? All right.
I'm sorry, you guys talking to me?
No. I'm talking to everybody else because every once in a while, funny things happen. So just want to make sure we're all good. All right,
Rob,
guys.
that won't be Zoom.
Say again.
That won't be a Zoom meeting.
Oh, we pause, well, right now, but they may extend this.
Yes. That's
So
it.
as of right now, it's probably gonna be a live meeting, but if they keep extending it, then we're gonna keep going Zoom. So we'll play it by ear at this point. All right, thanks, guys. We gotta get the second meeting going. Appreciate it, Al. You got some work
Thank
to
you very
do.
much. And I appreciate you, Mr. Chairman, and everybody.
Not a problem.
Specifically my friend, Tom Ruber.
Nice, buttering them up. Nice.
No, trust me, we are friends.
I know.
He is tough on me. Ask him.
All right, Mr. Andre, I'm assuming you're gonna kind of pay attention to what's also going on here because.
Yes.
All right, guys, get out of here. We got one more meeting to go.
All right, bye.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we got 8:30. Okay, here we go. 7:45, remotely conducted public hearing will be held by the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals on Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 at 7:45 PM on the application submitted by Robert Norris, 88 Lakeshore Drive, Duxbury, Massachusetts, for a variance pursuant to sections 415.22 building and lot regulations and 415-89.1 zoning variances to allow the applicant to construct a 38 by 40 addition on the rear of the existing building, being a portion of the real property at the premises known and numbered 295 Center Ave, Rockland, Massachusetts. The property is located in the Business 2 zoning district, section 415-14 of the zoning bylaw, and is further identified as lot 92, lot 92 on map 55 on the Rockland Assessor's maps. The owner of the property is Piano Mill 295 LLC, 295 Center Street, 295 Center Ave, Rockland, Massachusetts, 02370. The applicant and all interested parties are advised to check the town website and the zoning board's webpage for additional information. Remote meeting details will be on the agenda posted on the town's website. Mr. Norris.
Yes.
Okay, I thought that was Santa I was looking at, but how you doing, sir?
Good, thanks.
Talk to the board. Let us know what you want to do, sir.
Rob, before he does that, you gotta say who's voting.
Oh, good call. Myself, Mr. Baker Senior, Mr. Haynes, I'm bumping you, Gally, and Mr. Tanzi.
Are you gonna slight me, Rob?
No, I'm not slighting you on this one.
What about me, Rob?
I'm gonna slight you. Mr. Gally, you're voting.
Oh, sure, be that way.
I have two enemies.
Well, no, and I'll be honest with you. Mr. Gally puts in his time here, and I want to give him a little bit more experience of it as an actual voting member. If that's cool with the rest of the members.
Absolutely.
No, that's a good idea, Rob.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
All right, Mr. Norris, talk to me, sir.
Yeah, so I'd like to get an addition put on the rear of my existing building.
When I started looking into it, I was told that, the setback laws have changed since the building was built, so I would need to apply for a variance. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay. What is the required number that we're looking at? Because you are but a residential business, is that what that is? Or excuse me, a residential home?
Rockland flag.
Yeah, it's Rockland Flag. I
Okay.
think the property, all the surrounding properties are business, B2.
Okay.
I know I'm B2.
All right. So what is can someone tell me, without having to go through the bylaw, what the required zoning setback is? Is it still 15? I'm looking right now.
I'm looking with the chart.
We said B2, correct?
Yes.
20, 30, and 30. 20 on the front, 30 on the rear, and 30 on the side. That's what I'm finding. Attorney Galvin, if you want to.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I'm reading that too.
Okay. So, all right. I'm sure the board has some questions here. Where are we starting? Mr. Baker Senior.
Where are you gonna relocate the dumpster to?
Could you repeat that?
Where would you be, wait a minute. Where would you be relocating your dumpster to?
Well, that's just a 4-yard, removable dumpster. We could put it against the front wall, or it's a small dumpster that we could move wherever we had room to move it.
That dumpster have to be
Fenced in or fenced in?
It has to be fenced in nowadays, right? That's also.
Really?
That's new Board of Health bylaws. That the dumpster has to be fenced in on a commercial
We could
commercial
remove it
business
entirely.
property.
I have no problem just getting rid of it then. It's just for our trash. So I could, I don't need a dumpster there.
And you would have to
I was
contact
never-
the Board of Health, and you would have to get local pickup then.
Yeah, I
As far as
could.
I know, all properties have to have some sort of trash removal.
Right, and the town does offer that, correct?
As far as I know, I have no idea how it works, though.
Not for a business.
Oh, not for a business.
No.
Oh. Well, then I don't have any, I don't have an opposition putting a fence around it. I've never been told that, so that's news.
The question is, where are you gonna do it, though? Where are you gonna put it?
It would probably go, the most sense would be to put it on the end of the wall of the proposed new addition.
So you would be losing probably at a minimum space 17 and
Yeah.
potentially space 18, potentially.
Well, okay, I don't, like I say, it's a small dumpster. I can't imagine it taking up 2 spaces, but.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the dumpster enclosure is what, takes up
The space.
the space,
Right.
the fence, the concrete apron. Usually there are bollards around the dumpster so that it doesn't, the truck doesn't hit it.
Right.
One option that, I don't know how appealing this is to you, but if out in the back, if you had some type of a door, kind of a garage door type thing, that you could put the dumpster inside the building. Now, what you would have to do is, well, I would imagine you would want to enclose on the inside of your building, so that you can't see the thing from the inside. It's just so that it's out of the way and it's shut up tight. You can't see it.
Yeah,
When
but
it
Greg,
comes
I'm going to
back-
stop you right there. He's putting up the addition to gain space. To put the dumpster inside, he's losing floor space.
Well,
That's the problem.
if he can afford to lose the space, I mean,
Well, I mean, this is what I want this space for is storage, you know, this is where it's gonna be warehouse space, so. Yeah, I mean, I see the point of it taking up extra space in there. But I'm still gaining a much needed space for storage, so. That's a as far as I'm concerned, that's a possibility I wouldn't be opposed to, but what if, so that the front facing wall of the proposed addition is 38 feet. And I am when planning to have one overhead door on that wall, you know, a garage door essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So there should be, you know, that's 10, 38, 28 feet. So about 14 feet on each side of that door on that front wall. Could it be put there?
yeah, as long as it fits, as long as it's enclosed inside.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
has
you
to.
roll it
I
in.
mean, if it's on the outside of the wall with a fence around it.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Well, hold on. One at a time. Mr. Baker, we're still working on your question. Mr. Norris is asking if we can put it on the front.
Yes, you could.
You absolutely could, as long as it's enclosed and as long as the trash removal truck can get in there and do its thing. As long as that can happen, not a problem.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if I had a choice, I'd prefer to have it outside the building next to the door.
All right, well, let's keep it at that. Let's make sure that it's outside at this point.
Okay.
Mr. Baker, do you have anything else to say?
The building is going to only be 1.27 feet from the side, according to these plans,
Calculate the number.
off the property line.
If it were to follow the existing building, the end of it would be 1.27 feet from the property line.
I'm gonna check you right there. That's not what's happening. The problem is that the end of the existing building is not square. All right, so what's happening is that it's not following the line of the existing building. If it followed in 180 degrees projection of that existing rear of the building, or it's technically a sideline, the side of the building, it would actually get further away.
Yeah.
I've already tested this, so I know that.
Yeah, no, I see that. I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
You're squaring off of the line, a line of the building that's not square to anything else, and that's why this is happening. This is why my question was going to be, why aren't you running in line with that side of the building? And in turn, you're getting better than what's already there. And in turn, you wouldn't have to ask for a variance. All you'd have to ask for is a section 6 finding, because technically it's getting no worse than it already is.
Yeah.
If you were to do that.
That's what I was getting at.
Does everybody see what I'm saying? I just want to make sure.
I do.
Yeah.
The rear wall of the building is not square.
No, what's happening? Yeah, the rear of the building. As you're looking at the site plan, the rear of the building is not square to either of the sides. So what's happening is you're forcing it to get closer to the property line when technically you really don't. If you wanted to make this work, what you would do is you would be square to square to both sides, and in turn, depending on which side you hold, you'd end up having 38 feet along one side and maybe 42 feet on the other. You know what I mean? And the whole building would end up being square to itself. It would have a cockeyed wall on the inside, but we haven't seen floor plans, so I don't know what what you're proposing to do in here. You say it's all storage, right? It's all 100% storage,
Yes.
100% open storage,
I don't follow you.
meaning like a warehouse type situation.
Oh, work-in storage?
Yeah.
No, it'd be 100% storage.
All right, 100% storage, but what I'm saying is it going to be, are there any walls in there? Are there going to be are you separating it into, more music studios or anything like that?
No.
Or is it all just open warehouse type storage?
Open warehouse type of storage. I would like to have an entrance, to get from the existing building into the new portion of the storage, just,
Right.
yeah.
No,
But my whole intent here is to be able to move what I'm using for as storage space, have actually more than half of the existing rear part of the building, which is essentially warehouse space, is being used for storage space. So it's taking up all my workspace, or a lot of my workspace. So by having this space as storage space, it would open up my existing space.
No, that's understood. Now, I guess the question is based on your condo plans, your base, I see where the storage room is and I see where the balcony storage is. What's going to happen with that?
I'm sorry, I've got a bad hearing, but can you repeat that?
Okay. If you look at your condo plans,
Yeah.
all right, condo plans that show what you purchased.
Right.
And this is for anybody that hasn't been in the piano mill. I have, so I know what it looks like in here. The storage room that's just beyond the sales floor, right? It's just beyond all the music studios in the bathroom. You've got a storage room, and then there's balcony storage.
Okay.
All right. What's going to happen in there?
I'm just keeping it the same. I mean, I wasn't planning on eliminating it.
All right, so that's going to stay as storage and you're not going to increase the size of the sales floor.
No.
You're not going to try and put any more music studios in there.
No.
No. All right.
I wouldn't really, no.
Okay, because where I'm going with this is it affects your parking. In fact, what you're doing is affecting your parking, and I'm just making sure that you have once this all happens, that you'll still have the right amount of parking for the area. That's where I'm going with that. So, based on the numbers that I have, based on the numbers that I came up with, and this is based on your condo plan, and knowing that one space for every 300 square feet of sales floor area, and one for every 2 employees. How many employees do you have?
Just myself and my son.
Okay, what about the music teachers?
Well, okay, yeah, they're not considered employees, but they're subcontractors. We have
employees.
So, okay, so how many? I believe we have 8.
Okay, so there's 4 there, and where's my calculator? 22, 12. I calculated the sales floor as 2,212 square feet. You divide that by 300. You have to round up, so you call it 8, and then you have 8 and then you have 8, so you need 4. So that's 12. That's a total of 12 spaces that are required. Again, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Yeah. All right, you'll make it. All right. So that's a non-issue. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take that all up. And I'm speaking out of turn. Mr. Baker, you got anything else?
I'm all set.
I'm sorry. Mr. Galley, I'm coming to you, sir.
You and I had privately had this conversation. You asked my question before I could ask it. I was going to ask if he was going to have enough parking with the expansion.
Sorry, man.
That was going to be my question, because he was losing 5 spots, and I didn't know if he was going to meet what he needed in the beginning, and then if he was going to need more with the expansion. But like you said, storage won't require more. So you answered it.
Mr. Rubel, do you concur with what I said? Again, 300, 1 space for every 300 feet of sales floor, and then 1 space for every 2 employees?
Yes.
Okay, and I get a calculation of 12. He's got more than enough at this point. Mr. Galley, do you have anything else, sir?
No, that's all I could think of at the time. Thank you.
Sorry, man. I didn't mean that. I apologize.
I think
Mr.
it's-
Haynes, talk to me, sir.
So I was simply going to ask in that, I was going to ask about that, but I was also going to ask if two things apply. One is, does the setback rule apply to a business property? Is there any issue, doing what we just talked about? Is that only residential? Does it apply to, a business use to extend a setback that's already existing? And my second question is, since it's a condo with multiple business uses and buildings on the site, do we actually have to look at the entire site and look at the entire parking situation, or can we actually peel off this piece of it and only look at this portion of the site?
I would think that it would depend on if there was exclusive use areas per the condo documents. That I don't have.
So those are
Attorney, I hear you. Did Attorney Galvin leave? No, he's still here.
No, I'm here.
How do you feel about Mr. Haynes' question?
Well, number one, it would be helpful. Does anybody have the ability to share a screen so we can look at the plan? Because I don't have this plan.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Hold on. Which one do I want to share? That one, I think. Yeah.
So my biggest burning question is, when can we get the Liberace piano back?
I dig that. Can everybody see my screen?
Mhm.
All right, that's the current site plan.
Okay, so the existing building is located a couple of feet off the property line at its closest point.
The
2.24.
closest point. Well, it says 2.24 in the back. It says 3.36 at that corner. But where the property actually makes that angle point, that number is actually going to be less than the 2.24 feet. So it's even less than the 2.24 feet.
But it's pre-existing non-conforming side setback. So you can give them the special permit and it doesn't require a variance.
Okay.
If you find that it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the pre-existing non-conforming use. The one thing I'm concerned about is you're losing some parking spaces. And if you add this additional area to the building, do you have enough parking?
Yeah, we already went over that based on the square footage of the sales floor and the number of employees. Based on the sales floor, square footage, and number of employees, it's only a requirement. He's only required to have 12, and he's got well over that.
So there are two things on that. While I love your math, it was something that I felt should be on the plan, and with the surveyors. But my question, Attorney Galvin, is that this is a condominium, so there's actually other buildings and uses on this site. Can we simply look at this portion of the site, or do we need any additional information or documentation about either that this particular unit has the right to these spaces and this is exclusive, or do we have to look at the entire site?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a condominium unit, we need some proof that they have the ability to use these areas from the condominium association.
See, can I stop sharing my screen real quick, guys? Do you need to see this?
Just remember the unit, okay, unless the unit includes this additional area, only includes the building, and condominiums are generally speaking from the walls in.
Right.
And so this is something you're going to need some written communication from the rest of the condominium that they have the ability to do this.
Yes, I can definitely, that was part of when I purchased the property, it was written into the sale, that additional area for this specific reason that I wanted to do this.
Give me 2 seconds. I had actually pulled your master deed. before we look at this. I want to pull this one more time. No, what are you talking about? It was phone number 3. What day? It was 2017. This one right there. All right. Let me just. I don't know if this is actually gonna tell you anything. Hold on, I'm gonna share my screen. All right, everybody see that?
Yeah.
This is the condo plan for the entire condo complex. There's a phase 2 building envelope up here. I don't know what's going on back here. And in the end, if vehicles are coming through and we need some sort of circulation when it comes to emergency vehicles, I'd need somebody from I'd need somebody from fire to look at this and say, yeah, this is going to work. But that's only if we're going to need, 360 degrees access for the site, because I can only assume that. Okay, here's the unit 3. Okay, then that's okay. Yeah, somehow, some way, I need to know if we need how emergency vehicles are going to access this, because you put that building in the way, it's going to take away from the access to get into the back.
I think you need a letter from the condominium association indicating that they have the ability to modify the building as proposed.
Right.
And I don't doubt Mr. Norris that he's got that, but I think you need that for the file. Because, once you modify this site plan, it's got to be recorded.
And the site plan as is not recordable. And again, I don't know. Now I'm paying attention to this. I don't know if I just don't know if there's going to be enough room to get emergency vehicles to the back of the building now, because
you can always send this plan or the proposed amendments with this plan over to Deputy Haney or to the chief.
Yeah, but neither of them are going to be able to see it because it doesn't show the entire property.
No, but they'll be able to see with this plan and the other plan, generally and they'll probably want to go out and take a look.
So let me just throw this out there, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen. If we were to say, continue the public hearing until we hear until we see the letter from the condo association that gives the ability to do this, number 1. Number 2, once we get some sort of a sign off from the fire department and the police department, then we'll be more informed to be able to make this determination. Does that sound right?
But I don't think you continue it generally. I think we continue it to a date and time certain.
Right.
I mean, he's not going to need 60 days to get this
to
the fire department. This is a couple of weeks probably.
Mr. Norris, how do you what do you think? Think you can make that happen?
Yeah, I'm sure I can get that. The owner of the rest of the property and the owner of the condo association is the business that's in back of me. I know him personally, so I'm sure I can get that probably tomorrow.
All right. Then after that, what you would have to do is take a copy of the plan you submitted to us, as well as a copy of the original site plan. I can give you the book and page, so you can get if you don't already have a copy of that. You should be able to get a copy. You can only get Yeah, you'd have to get you'd have to get a full-size copy down at Plymouth. You can't get a full-size copy over at the Rockland Satellite office. You can get an 11 by 17. Maybe they'd be okay with that. But to really have a look at this, I know that the best way to do this is get a full-size copy of both plans, have that in hand, make an appointment to see the police, make an appointment to see the fire department. And if they can if they give us a sign off that either A, you don't need to maintain access to the back of the building for emergency vehicles, or B, they feel that based on the plans as shown by you, that you will have enough, we'll be able to make an informed decision.
Can I add to that, Rob?
Absolutely.
So we really should have a revised site plan, and it should show the parking requirements, a calculation of the parking requirements. It should show the dumpster location.
Yep.
And if you change the footprint of the addition and document how far the current existing building is from the sideline,
yep,
then you can come back and apply for a special permit, not the variance, and we could move forward on a special permit, section 6 finding.
Yeah, as opposed to a variance, because and correct me if I'm wrong, it still is, if he's we can grant the special permit because he's already in the buffer and he's just continuing to be in the buffer. That's how we handle this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
As long as it's not substantially worse, right?
All right. And I can tell you this, Mr. Norris, if Mr. Garvey has any issues, he's got my cell phone number. If he has any questions or anything like that, he can call me. So I saw a hand raised by Mr. Baker Jr., sir.
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman. If Mr. Norris decides to change the footprint of the building, isn't the plan that reflects that change the one that should be shown to the fire department?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You know, in the end, I just want to make sure all the ducks in a row. But here's the thing. I threw that out there so we didn't have to talk about a variance. We're already looking at this saying that he's already in the buffer. If you continue to be in the buffer, it's a special permit anyway. So we're not looking at having to grant a variance. The way that it's drawn currently, I would think as long as that last number, whatever that last number is, the 1.2 something, as long as it's
1.27.
1.27, as long as it's not any less than the number that you would get at that angle point. And I'll share my screen so everybody knows what I'm talking about.
2.24.
You got that? Well, can everybody see my point there?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got 2.24 here. You got 3.36 here. But the problem is that this would be the closest point. That's what I want to know. If you were, just have him add it to the plan.
Okay.
That way we know what that number is. That way, if it's in harmony with this number right here, which it looks like it is, it actually looks like the 1.27 is still closer to the property line. But again, you're already in the property line. Or excuse me, you're already in the buffer. So we can deal with this with a special permit as opposed to a variance.
Okay, give me the you had the number for the site plan?
Yes, sir. Let me just stop this. Let's do. I have plan book 61, page 951. Let me just double check that. And that's the one. Plan book 61, page 951. And actually, Mr. Garvey did this plan too.
Okay.
You might actually, it's granted the Mylar is not going to be with him, the original copy of the plan, that's going to be at the registry, but he might be able to get you, he might be able to copy this from his records.
Okay.
So, and I think that would work as long as it's a staple copy. And in the end, I would ask that you supply us a copy so, we can double check, but I'm just trying to save you some time, from having to go to the registry.
Yep.
Because the only place, it looks like the only place that you're gonna be able to really get a full-size copy is down in Plymouth. And I don't wanna make you have to go all the way down to exit 5 if you don't, if we don't have to. So, it's Mr. Garvey might be able to get it to you. The registry, the satellite office over on Hingham Street, the biggest they can give you is 11 by 17. This might be, I don't see it. I don't see a size comparison. This might be an 18 by 24, so it could work. Talk to Mr. Garvey first. That's all I asked.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, gentlemen, we got a motion.
A motion to continue the public hearing for 295 Center Ave until June 7th at 7:30. That gives them a month.
Mr. Norris, does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. I got a motion.
Second.
I got Mr. Galley, did I hear a motion? Did I hear a second?
A second?
There we go. All right, so I got a motion. I got a second. I need a roll call. Myself is a yes. Mr. Galley?
Yes.
Mr. Baker Senior?
Yes.
And it was Mr. Haynes, right? I bumped Mr. Baker Jr., correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes and yes.
All right, perfect. All right, let's get this squared away. I don't see this being a big deal. As long as we know that emergency vehicles can make this work. That's it. That's the only thing that we're really concerned about at this point. Number of parking spaces were good. I'm sure you can get the ability, a letter stating the ability. I don't see this being a problem. So
Good.
let's make it happen.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, we got a couple more things to talk about. Before we adjourn, before we close the meeting, where are we? Let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that.
I think you can probably tell Mr. Norris that.
Oh, Mr. Norris, you don't have to stay. We have to, I apologize. Thank you, Tim. We have some other zoning board stuff that we have to take care of.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Not a problem. I thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Hi.
Good night.
All right, man, the agenda. Okay. So now, where the hell are we? Non-deliberative announcements and scheduling discussion, deliberation, and potential vote on. We know what we got to talk about. So, where do we want to start? Which one do we want to start with, I guess?
Well, I talked to Nick Zioli, Lieutenant Zioli,
Yes, sir.
from the police department.
Oh, where's Greg? Hold on, where's Greg? Where's Greg? I'm not seeing him now.
Oh,
I can't.
he left.
No, he said he sent me a Zoom. He sent me a text as his Zoom cut out on him.
Oh,
I'm thinking he didn't pay his Comcast.
Mr. Chairman, can I beg the chair's indulgence and ask for a 5-minute break?
I'm gonna tell you right now that I like that. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
All
Go
right,
for
rock and roll.
Thank you so much, sir.
Not a problem. I'm right there with you, sir.
can see you, Greg.
Yeah, my internet has been cutting out. I tried to get on by the phone. This is the second time it happened. So where did Rob go?
But
We're on a brief break, Greg.
So you closed the hearing for the, you continued the hearing for the piano?
yes, yes.
Right. Yeah, this happened to me twice. That was the second time it happened to me. I don't know what it is. Everything freezes up. I can't get it back. I shut everything down. I go into the internet browser, and Google, the search engine wouldn't even come in.
You shut the computer right off?
No, I didn't shut the computer off. It just
They
cut
tell
out.
me if you shut the computer off for 5 seconds and then turn it on, what you're doing is you're rebooting it,
Yeah.
and it does stop that crap from happening.
Yeah, and I mean,
Nice. IT lessons from our municipal construction expert. Nice. Deb did send out the previous condition list for, I gotta pull those up, for both Park and Howard, and there was Maplewood Estates, I think. That sound right?
Yep.
Okay. Let me just get that.
Yeah.
That, and then Attorney Galvin, you emailed me a couple things. What was this?
I emailed you a couple of decisions on the 250 Webster Street.
Okay.
I didn't know how to get them to you during a meeting. I sent you a couple of chats. I don't know if you see them, but
I saw the chats, but honestly, there was nobody on it. There's nobody from the general public, and that's usually who sends me the chats and stuff like that. And my phone was on the other side of it was like 10 feet away from me. I got it now. So if you want to text me, you can.
okay.
Where are you? Greg?
Rob, we were talking about the traffic on both of these projects.
Absolutely. Before we go into it, I want to look at something real quick. I talked to Pat Brennan, and I had asked him, about conditions and stuff like that. He said he would put something together. He did throw this together. Let me do something here. Deb, I think Pat sent that to you too.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I saw it earlier.
Gentlemen, do you want me to email it all to you, or do you want me to share my screen so you can see it? I want you guys to see what Pat sent.
Sharing is fine with me.
Share works. All right, let me just download it. Desktop is fine. Open it. Opening. Word to do. Enable editing. Okay. Here, share screen. That's the one. Share screen. All right. Everybody see that?
Mhm.
All right. Attorney Galvin, I'll
Magnify it?
say again.
Can you magnify it? Zoom in the,
Oh, absolutely.
Figure it out.
it's on the bottom right. There you go.
Whoa.
That's too much.
Too
That work
much.
right
Too much.
I think this is all general. This is not, and he's definitely not, site specific on any of this. Start a construction applicant shall engage the services of a qualified professional engineer or to provide certification, the completion of work and project. Prior to the start
Can I make a suggestion, Mr. Rosen?
Please, sir. Please, sir.
I mean, let's pick which one we're going to talk about. Okay, if we're going to talk about both, and then I think we have to talk about what, are we going to approve or deny? And then, you have to tie it into a plan, what you're approving. And then I think you can talk about, like, I think Pat has given you like a lot of general conditions that we put in every type of 40B, but I think we need to talk more about the specific conditions, if anything, need to be on each of these projects and not the general ones, because we're going to put those in anyways.
Right, and it's just a matter of just making it clear all the way through. That's what we had touched on the last time. This was 320 Concord Street we started talking about, and the big things that came out were definitely construction traffic. How the best thing that we can do to guide all the dump trucks that are coming through. Because there's going to be a lot, it's a decent amount of fill on a very small site, and it's a very small site to be able to work on. So one of the things that we were talking about was, again, coming off of the south side of Concord Street, off of Summer, to be able to access it, because we don't want all this dump trucks to be going down Union Street. You don't want it going down Market Street. If there's a way to limit it to coming off of the south intersection of Concord Street with Summer Street, at least it takes away.
The more you direct it in one spot, the more you upset one group over another. I mean, it's residential either direction.
Yep.
And yeah, there's more commercial up towards Union Street. I think what you probably ought to do is, and to best help the neighbors, is disperse it equally. But this isn't like a high-rise building. I think what you ought to do is focus on hours that they can, actually build, which, I mean, Ms. Brigham is right next door there and only a short distance away. I mean, seems to me like we should try to put some conditions that protect her, the landscaping and the fence type conditions, not construction before, you don't want them working before 7 o'clock in the morning, and you maybe don't want them to work more than a half a day on a Saturday and no holidays. Making sure that if they track material off the site, they clean it up promptly.
Yep. We had mentioned that, but
construction traffic has to be parked. I mean, look at it. I mean, you can't impose on this developer something you wouldn't impose on the developer of a single family residence. And if a contractor can park on the street to build a house, you can't tell this developer that he can't do the same thing, because that's a condition that has a disproportionate adverse impact on him. But I do think you could say that, to the extent that they can, the construction vehicles should be parked on the site and off the street. And if on the street, in a manner that shall not impede pedestrian or vehicle access on and along Concord Street. I mean, those are the types of things here. I mean, I think you could say that the applicant shall come up with a construction traffic management plan acceptable to the building commissioner that'll intersperse truck traffic, in both directions as equally as possible. Something like that,
It's almost like you were at the meeting. We tried almost every single thing that you just said. We already we kind of touched on. It's a matter of just wrangling it all in.
I added all of those.
Right. Saying it's just
In that
it's a matter.
draft.
It's a matter of wrangling everything in. So, I mean, other than that, the one thing that I came up with was the applicant was more than willing to accommodate us on a lower building height to be a little bit more consistent with the highest elevation of, I think it's Mrs. Brigham's. No, it's the Wongs, right? On the right-hand side.
Yeah, Brigham is to the left.
Brigham is to the left. It was I want to say Wong to the right. Her house is the higher of the two at elevation 115. So he wanted to be 121. We ran some numbers. He was willing to knock it down 3 feet, which comes to elevation 118. And then when you do the numbers all out, I think it was.
Is that the ridge on the buildings?
Yeah, that would end up being the ridge on the buildings. 118.1 minus the 93. 25.1, Deb, does that sound right? Do you remember,
Right.
Deb?
I think so. Let me just check.
Because of the way the site's kind of grading, the engineer from Mr. Shoemaker from Mackenzie, when he was doing the lock rating plan that we asked him to do, he worked with the highest elevation building, which was the building number 2. And that number came up to be, again, it was like 121 point something, and the next door neighbor was like 115. Mr. Petrosi went through it 100%, and said, "Oh, well, we can knock this down, and we can, instead of doing 9-foot ceilings, we can do 8-foot ceilings, and that'll decrease this, that, the other thing." He said he was more than willing to.
So
to
the
drop
applicants,
like-
how that translates into a final condition is the applicant shall submit a final set of building plans showing an elevation not greater than blank.
No,
Okay,
it would be a building height. It would be a
building
building
height.
height, not higher than 25.1 feet.
I have 28.5.
28.5. Let me just double it, and you got to double check that. I did.
With an elevation of 118.5.
Why? Yeah, the number would the height would have been. Let me give you my numbers again here. The number, the elevation, the original elevation was like 121.1 minus the 3 feet that he said he would do is 118.1 minus the elevation of the, let's call it the garage. Mr. Haynes, you can check me on this. I believe the elevation of the garage floor was like 93. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Okay, minus 93. The building height itself, no greater than 25.1 feet, which will accommodate the highest elevated building, the highest elevated ridge height, which was building number 2 at 100 elevation 118.1. So the math works. It's just a matter of if he can make the math work.
well, we'll look at, I mean, I said this during the meeting, and I said it because it's true.
I know where you're going.
You can't like ask, I mean, this guy can voluntarily agree to do whatever you want him to do, but the reality is you don't really have a basis to tell him he can't use what the bylaw says he can build a building to in that district,
Absolutely agree with you. The problem that I'm having, and I think Mr. Haynes will kind of agree with me on this one. He's been trying to tell us that he's building one style of building when he's actually not. And he kept saying from the beginning that he didn't want it to be any higher than, and really any higher than the neighboring buildings. That's number 2. And number 3, once we put this in front of him and once he actually saw this, he admitted on camera that what they're proposing is not what he thought. So
I mean, I heard him agree to limit the building height, and I think that's really good because most 40B developers would sit there and say pound sand.
Right. That's why I want to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. So I think that if we give him a height to work with, then we're not really limited him. He said he could knock it down 3 feet. He said he was willing to knock it down 3 feet. If that's the case, then instead of an elevation, we give him a building height, and the building height, again, based on math, should be 25.1.
I think what's most useful right now is to come up with like an inventory of what was submitted during the public hearing process.
Right.
So that we know as a board, what are the last revised plans, and we can tie that to an approval decision if we're there. Okay. And I think that's kind of the best starting point for you all.
No, I agree.
And I think we're talking about the types of things that we would like in a condition. And I think what we're doing is moving towards drafting something so you can see it on paper as to what it would look like. I mean, I think the other issue is sewer. I mean, they've got to be able to solve, I mean, I think sewer is kind of easy for the board. The board's like, the applicant shall connect to the municipal sewer system and, pay the required fees to tie in this number of units and
And whatever permits that the sewer commissioners or sewer department would require.
right.
But I think we do that same thing with the water department too. But I don't remember if they got I don't know if they got a conditional. I thought it was a conditional approval.
No, so the
one-
sewer is a very different issue right now because of the issues with the plant and things like that. So I think you just say, shall be obligated to connect in accordance with the rules, subject to the availability of subject to the ability to connect according to the determination of the sewer commissioners. I mean, the sewer commissioners are dealing with, a system that's not functioning, it's 50-year-old system that's not functioning the way everybody would like it to function. So
Well, based on town meeting, they're saying the DEP is saying the same thing about our water department.
oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like we've got two municipal systems that aren't working. I don't know. I'm not going there, but
So some of the things we talked about in that inventory, besides the ridge height, were the footprint sizes and setbacks to deck and setback to the building.
does that sound familiar to everybody?
Yes.
All right.
The only thing is too, Rob, is those plans that he showed us for the buildings.
Yep.
Those are only conceptual plans.
Right.
So I don't know how we can attach those to the decision as conceptual plans
Agreed.
and not, factual plans.
Well, I think we've done this before, where when all these plans come together to go to Mr. Rubel for building permits, he reviews the plans, and if he feels that the architectural plans presented to him at the time permit differ greatly than what the board sees, I think his answer to that will be send them to the board. I think. The Attorney Galvin, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Saying we can say in conformity with the submitted draft architectural plans, subject to review by.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what you basically say is that this approval is conditioned upon the applicant constructing the building substantially in accordance with the plans, the design renderings that you've been provided.
Okay, and then as long as Deb, and I know I saw I guess Lou called you. You were looking for some documentation from him.
Yeah.
So that's all Deb's she's on target with putting that compiled list together of all the documents and stuff like that. I think the last submitted site plan, the last submitted site plan was only one page though, I think. The last submitted site plan was only one page. It wasn't the whole thing. Let me just get rid of this off my screen.
And I think the architectural plans he submitted
Yep.
at the end.
That was 4 pages worth of plans.
Yes.
Yeah, you had. I'm emailing you all. Robert Baker, Mr. Tanzi, Steve Galley. Pat sent it. So Mr. Galvin, Mr. Hands, Mr. Baker, Mr. Tanzi, Mr. Galley, and Deb already got this. So, all right.
So it sounds like we have construction management plan, final plans substantially similar to what was submitted, with a maximum footprint, ridge height, setbacks, hours of activities, and I think we talked about some things that would be in the construction management plan, storage on site, trailers, vehicle parking, but that would just be construction management plan. Was there anything else that we wanted to add to it or bring up?
Under the construction management, Rob, I did talk with Lieutenant Zioli. Talked to him today, actually. They have a whole new set of rules and regulations for construction vehicle traffic in the town.
Okay.
There are also other rules and regulations that they put in that were adopted at town meeting. As far as construction vehicles, you know, the builders, the plumbers, the electricians and that. And he would like to have us put in the condition that before construction commences, they have to meet with him and set up a construction route for the vehicles. And the number of vehicles that are going to be coming into the property each day will be based on if they need details or not, and how many details they'll need.
Is that, do you know if that's all written in those documents you were talking about?
As far as the number of vehicles,
as far as what you just said, or were you paraphrasing from those documents?
Paraphrasing from them.
Okay. All right. So, Deb, can you reach out to Lieutenant Zioli and see if you can get preferably a Word document?
Yep.
Of all their regulations, because I'm assuming we want to do that. I don't think we have to list every single regulation, just, you know, whatever.
He said it's kind of lengthy. Because there's also stuff in there about protesting and parades and all of that doesn't pertain to this. So he would rather talk to the applicant and set up a whole thing with him, and if they need to put up temporary signs, where they need to be posted, and staging areas for trucks if we had to have them stage the truck instead of having them staging on Concord Street like we were talking about.
Yep. So again, condition about the construction management plan to be approved by the building inspector, but also a condition to abide by any and all rules that the police department have for construction traffic.
And to meet with them before,
and to meet with them prior to construction, something along those lines. Attorney Galvin, does that work?
Yep.
Deb, I see you raising your hand.
I'll call Lieutenant Zioli tomorrow and touch base with him.
It would be nice to have, at least in your file,
right,
that information. So if it ever has to come back out, you can just go, boom, here it is.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. I appreciate that.
he did say the same thing for the school street one, the schoolhouse.
Yeah, I have a feeling that again, once we nail this down, this is going to be kind of a slam dunk for the other one. Should we even discuss if we're going to approve this or not?
It's too early. You don't do that yet.
Okay.
I mean, we're working on conditions that are suggestive of an approval. Okay, right. But you don't vote on that until you're done with the whole decision.
And that's kind of what I figured. See, Greg doesn't want to vote. He just left.
No, I'm here.
Greg was having some internet issues.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, so we can hear you.
No, I'm here.
All right, keep your clothes on, sir.
I just have to stretch my legs, that's all.
It's understood. You got long legs over there, sir.
Yeah.
So where to next? We're talking construction management, we're good. We're talking police, we're good. We talked sewer, we talked water.
You have to talk about waiver requests.
Where are the waiver requests? I'm just pulling back up. No more. 220. There's the application, easements, hearings and meetings, plans, public letters. There was an update. I'm trying to remember if there was an updated into architectural areas. All right. I have residents 220 there, zoning board feels. Comprehensive regulations revised January 24th, 2022. That's what I have for the list. And if you want, I will share my screen so everybody can see this. Does that work?
Thank you.
Awesome.
Sharing screen, and zooming in. All right. Section 415-8 -R1 residence zoning district. Multifamily residence not permitted as principal use. That's an exemption. They need it.
So that won't require a variance?
That requires a variance as far as I know. Everybody good with it?
Oh, they're asking for an exemption.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the issue is variance. Waiver. An
It's a waiver.
exemption.
It's a waiver. The Attorney Galvin, is that the case?
Yep.
Waiver versus variance.
Yeah, you don't grant variances, you grant waivers.
Okay, so we got a waiver on the number of buildings. We've got a waiver on the square footage based on the number of buildings. Number of dwelling units. Again, minimum size. Here's what the setbacks come into play, and this is what we had to find. Minimum side yard. This is where I think it needs to be definitive. The minimum side yard for 14 feet was off the deck. The minimum side yard off of the building was 18 feet.
Right.
So I think that needs to be stated. And then the minimum rear yard is technically 50. They're asking for 20. So it is what it is. So that's a waiver. Residence zones, all parking areas limited shall be accessed on 10-foot setback. So the 10-foot buffer, they're looking for an exemption.
To 9.4.
The 9.4. Yeah. So that still holds true from the plans that I remember. Multifamily should be subject to the site plan review requirements of Article. Aren't we dealing with that right now? I thought that's kind of what we're doing. We're doing the site, So minimum area, minimum area shall be no less than 5 acres. Yep, that's a waiver. Minimum 20% of the site area shall be developed as public open space, parking areas and vehicle areas. That's a waiver. Building relationships, the arrangement of the buildings and disturbance required between buildings shall be set forth in the bylaw. They're looking for a waiver there. Minimum lot width, 110. We already know that. Minimum frontage, 110. We already know that. Only principal residential building shall be only one principal residential building shall be allowed on single lot. Exemption. They're looking for 4. Land use density, the entire section. They're looking for an exemption.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're basically gonna waive those as per the approved plan.
Right.
I mean, that's what you'll do. You're not waiving anything that is not needed. You're waiving only what they need to build as per the approved plan.
This I have an issue with. Except as provided herein, no building, excavation, or foundation activities shall be initiated unless a site plan is first submitted and approved and a building permit is issued by the building inspector. I got a problem with that. Am I reading that wrong?
That's kind of
Yeah, you deny that.
denied.
All right,
I mean-
nice, thank you.
Which one is that? Is that,
That is the one, let me just make sure, that's
What's the
1,
section?
2, 3, that's the fourth from the bottom on the waivers list. And they're saying it's section 415-58.A. It's site plan review
415?
-58.A.
And we're denying that?
I'd like to.
What,
Part of the site plan review, let's see what it actually says.
Yeah, no, good call. And again, site plan review and approval, they're looking for the entire section. Is that site plan review and approval under planning board or under us?
So it's under site plan review. And that 58A says, except as provided herein, no building, excavation, or foundation activities. So I think it's just exactly as written. So, but it says just exactly what he's written there.
so he doesn't want to give the building inspector nothing.
That's how I'm reading it, but I don't know if I'm interpreting it.
There's an
That's a
additional
conflict.
line in mine that says no certificate of occupancy shall be given unless all construction and conditions conform to the approved site plan.
Do you have the section number and line on that?
So it's 415-58A. It says as they've written there.
Oh, it's all under A.
So,
No, all I know is I want final plans going to the building inspector and I want him to approve everything before, you know, I want him to approve anything before the shovel hits the dirt.
Right. The only thing legally they can do is take the old foundation out, the slab.
There you go.
That's all he can do.
and that I think that is true on everything. There's like we have our site plan review has things that don't require it. Everything else does.
What about the site plan review and approval?
I want my E code, so I have it.
The next one down.
So I think that's us, right? We
Yeah, we do the site.
Our review and acceptance of the site plan that they've submitted is the review and approval of it.
Right.
So I would not.
We can't waive that.
Right. I think it's not an exemption. It's, by virtue of our reviewing.
Content site plan form, content number, copy plans for the procedure submission to B2 on planning board. Shall follow the most current Rockland Planning Board rules and regulations for site plan requirements in effect at the time of the application. The copy of said rules should be filed in the office of the town clerk. The reviewing authority shall evaluate each application on the basis of which we're doing right now. Convenience, safety, building sites shall minimize any material significant impacts on steep slopes, conformance, blah, blah, as-built plans prior to the certificate of occupancy. So that is 415-59. Why he would want an exemption from all that, I don't know, because he's already submitted the plans. We're already reviewing it. We're already doing all that. And then section C is the as-built plans. No, we're already doing this. So we're already doing the site plan. We're already going through site plan review, and he's going to submit as-bills. End of story. So I'm thinking that if I'm reading this all correctly, section 415-59 site plan review and approval, he's not getting a waiver.
Not going to waive the next one either.
So let me look at, and Tim looked at 415-58 under the general provisions, accepting Accepting no building. Yeah, so 415-58.a, no. 415-59, no. 89A. Damn it. There's 89.1, 89.a.
You know, Rob, that 41559
Mm-hmm.
site plan review and approval.
Yeah,
That's not with the planning board, is it? Or,
no, we are the planning board.
I know.
It has to
But
adhere
I mean,
to.
is he saying that he doesn't have to go to the planning board, or is he?
Of
I'm
course
not
he does. We are the planning board. He doesn't have to.
right.
No, what he said, I feel like what he's saying is that he wants an exemption from the whole thing. We've already done it. We've already done the site plan review. We've
Right.
basically already been there. We're reviewing
Correct.
it as if we were the planning board.
Right.
So from there, the only other portion of that was, he's got to submit as-built plans. I'm not
Right.
wasting that.
No, not the as-built plans. I just think, I don't know what his thinking was. Yeah.
I don't think I know. I don't think anybody knows what his thinking was, other than he wants to make money. But it is what it is. So again, going back to the top just to see, make sure we're good. 415-58.a. I say I vote no. 415-59 site plan review and approval. I vote no. 415-89.a. That's where I was just at. 89A. 415-89A. Special permit shall be required to construct or otherwise establish any of the specific types of uses so identified within this bylaw, which shall only be permitted upon issuance of a special permit. Special permits may be issued only for the use which are in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw and shall be subject to the specific provisions established herein. Such permits may also impose conditions, safeguards, and limitations on time or use. I can only assume that has to do with everything else that he's already asking for waivers for.
And any conditions he wants a waiver for.
Such permits may also impose conditions, safeguards, and limitations. Attorney Galvin, do you concur on this one? We should deny this one.
You know, I have another way of framing all of this. Okay?
Perfect.
I mean, you're basically, what you're gonna do is you're gonna approve all the waivers necessary to build what's on that piece of paper, and you're gonna deny all the rest of them. And
Okay.
I have a paragraph from prior comprehensive permits that I'll give you that kind of says all that.
All right, because I'm seeing.
I think the critical thing, as I said, is to work on that file inventory to make sure you have everything that's in the record
right
included, and then you can, approve what's on that last plan if that's what the board's so inclined to do, and then impose your conditions.
Just a question on that, Bob, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
I'm just trying to reconcile the notion of us requiring something that he's already agreed to, that is the 3-foot reduction in height or.
Yeah, so what we'll do.
But without having seen a plan that reflects that reduction.
Yeah, but what we'll do is prior to the commencement of construction, the applicant shall prepare final building plans showing that reduction.
Perfect, thank you.
That's how we'll deal with it.
And again, it looks like the last four on the waiver list that he's asking for an exemption from. Those are the four that we're looking at not waiving. Actually, maybe the last one, 94. Types of sites and properties. He's looking at 94, all commercial, industrial, public, or institutional sites and or buildings which are to be constructed, soon altered, and removed shall be subject to the review of the DRB. What the heck is the DRB?
Design Review Board.
Design Review Board. Thank you. Regardless of their location in Rockland, in no case shall any site or building intended exclusively for the use of as a single family be subject to, wait a second, read that again. In no case shall any site or building intended exclusively for the use of as a single family residence be subject to the Design Review Board. Why would you want to waive that?
These are condos though. They're not a single family home.
Oh.
These are condos.
Exclusively for the use of a single, okay, all right, I see it. All site and
Yeah,
buildings.
and it's multifamily.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
So it's moot by, I mean, we're granting a permit.
All right.
Design Review would,
I think the only one of real weird, like critical, like just trying to ask for an exemption to submitting a site plan and can't get a building permit until he has submitted it. It's just kind of weird.
So if we said on the waivers list, every single one except for the 415-58.a, 415-59, and 415-89.a. All the others are they are what they are.
but on the 41594, that is actually the design of the building itself, which you should submit to the building inspector.
Yeah, I hear where you're going.
Because that was a lot of the questions we had on them.
Yeah, but Design Review Board, isn't that still the planning board?
That usually fall under the planning board.
Right, so if it falls under the planning board, it falls under the zoning board right now. So we are the Design Review Board. So substantially altered and renovated, subject to the Design Review Board. The last one, I think we can waive. It sounds like it. Any and all plan unit.
But do we want to waive it?
Well, so what Attorney Galvin is saying is we have this broad language that says we grant everything that's necessary for building and we deny everything else. But I'm not sure how to reconcile that with the notion of, like, are we covered with that broad language for the site plan review stuff here?
And the Design Review Board. As long as Attorney Galvin feels that we're covered by that, then I think we're good. I see those three that we should specifically say no. And then the last one, based on what I'm looking at, we're already dealing with design review. And so he is technically subject to it because we're already doing it. And all sites is still located in following districts, subject to the review, blah, 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 52. And I feel like we're already doing it.
Yeah.
415-94, we're already looking at that. We're already dealing with it.
But if we waive that, then he wouldn't have to do the height of the buildings. He could go to 36.
Attorney Galvin, how do you feel on that one? I hear where Mr. Baker's coming from.
I mean, are we talking about the building height now?
No, we're talking about section 415-94 when it comes to, he's saying types of sites and properties, which that's the title of the section, which it says all commercial, industrial, public, and institutional sites, buildings which are to be constructed or substantially altered and or renovated shall be subject to review by the Design Review Board, regardless of their location in Rockland. In no case shall any site or building intended exclusively for the use of a single family residence be subject to review of the Design Review Board. He's trying to avoid Design Review Board, but he's already in it.
Right. So what you do is you he doesn't have to go to a design review board because he's going to build it substantially in compliance with the renderings that he's provided.
Okay.
So you'd waive that.
Okay, so again, it still comes down to the last four of if we have to be specific, it's the last four waivers on this list that we're gonna
Not waive.
not waive.
So 41594, we're gonna deny.
Types of site, yeah, please, somebody, I'm getting punchy here. Please, somebody remind me.
No, the last three. 41558A, 41559,
And
41589A.
59A.
89A.
Yeah,
89A.
okay, yeah, but not the last one.
But not the last one, that's gonna be a waiver. So if we
Okay.
have to write it in specifics, it's it's waive everything except for those three. And then we're gonna waive 415-94. All right.
Yeah.
Next. So we've gone through the waivers list.
I mean, I think you're gonna start, like I said, coming up with that inventory,
Yep.
making sure that you're all good with the plan,
Yep.
and then the landscape plan.
Yep.
And then I think we start trying to draft some language for you to look at, and we'll insert Pat's in there. We'll take a crack at the thing, and I mean, I'll work with Deb to get this done, and then you get something to look at.
All right, so at this point, it's 10 o'clock. I think we're way better than we were with, I think we're way better than we were with 320 Concord Street. Do we want to start talking about the Holy Family School? Because in the end, a lot of this is going to be identical language, if not a little bit less.
Well, one is rent to own, and the other one is rental.
Yeah.
So there's an entirely different set of conditions on the rental.
Okay.
There's some regulatory conditions that we didn't really talk about, but I'm going to assume you're going to want in, like, for example, 25% of the units will be rented to someone earning, 80% of the median income.
I thought that was standard, though. I thought that was kind of like the standard.
Yeah, those are all standard stuff. Okay. But I mean, again, you're starting with the file inventory, make sure you got what you want. And I think on that one, I think you probably want a final plan to show what land area is controlled by them, and that they're going to provide you proof that they can access in and through the church parking lot. I mean, that's probably, I mean, there's a lot of overlap. I guess you're right. But
When it comes to accessing the parking lot, you're looking for, do we need a document that says that?
Well, you're probably going to want a final construction management plan, some of the same things you had for the other one.
Yeah. And I feel like there is I know it's different, rental qualities and stuff like that, like how they're going to disperse the units and stuff like that. But I do feel there's going to be a decent amount of overlap. It's because again, it's still going to be subject to the water department's approval, subject to the sewer department's approval, subject to construction management plan, subject to sitting down with Lieutenant Zioli. Again, for the same thing for 320, same thing for Holy Family. We need a rock solid documents list when it comes to all the plans that we've looked at and that we're approving. All I can think of right now, I'm blanking, but.
So we don't attach the documents, we just list them out.
You basically attach a file inventory to your decision and say, these are all the stuff.
Plan dated Plan dated, by Mackenzie Engineering, blah, blah, blah,
Like,
blah.
I'll send you one right now that has this. I mean, we have our own format, like that we use for Lydia Square. And then, I can give you one from another town, but they all start, with some boilerplate language. Then
Right.
depending on whether it's a rental or a home ownership one, like condominiums, you have some language, and then you have some very specific conditions that tie you into the plan. And then you have some specific site conditions, and then you have some, general conditions before construction, general conditions during construction, and then post-construction conditions, and final cost certification conditions. That's how they're all organized.
So the ones that we wrote for Maplewood, that would most model 320 Concord Street. And the
Right.
ones that you did with, I believe Lydia Square was also apartments. So if Lydia Square was apartments, the one you wrote for Lydia Square should be, you should model the Holy Family School after the Lydia Square one.
Right.
And if that's the case, there should be enough language in the examples that we can just carry over and strike out what we don't need.
Agreed.
So are these all done by lottery? The
No,
apartments?
the affordable apartments are done by lottery. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do we want a copy of the HOA documents for 320 Concord Street? Do they have to be, because I think the
Well,
language
remember,
that-
it's a condominium association there. We'd probably just get be copied on them. I mean, we're gonna want to make sure that they abide by any legally enforceable easements with the abutting property. That they maintain the exterior of the units and the exterior premises in a good condition, free,
No parking
clear
in
and
the
debris.
turnaround.
Same thing with the fence and fence maintenance, buffer,
Well, they don't have,
landscaping.
No common areas
that's the
that
thing, this is the thing we've been taught, that I've been talking about. They have no fence maintenance.
Well, we discussed in the meeting that if there was an issue with the fence, that they would work with the neighbors to maintain the fence if fence maintenance became a problem. So they were just sort of just on the subject of what we might ask for in the HOA.
And
As long as-
stormwater management, HOA.
That is, did Pat say that in his list of waivers?
They have to maintain the galleys and the rain garden.
All those pins have to go to the drainage department too. They're gonna know where the flow goes. It's a different department now, Rob.
Who is it now?
Under the highway, but it's a different entity.
Drainage department is a thing now?
Drainage department is a drainage department
Good.
as of July 1st.
Okay.
Hey, Don, speaking of drains, the over at the school, the drains that are on the building, and they all say they go into the sewer, did those go into our actual, are they
Yes.
commingled? Or do they go into a storm sewer system that?
They go into the wastewater system.
So I brought this up at the first hearing.
What?
Yeah, so I brought this up at the first hearing because I wondered, I was like, do we know where these go, and would they be amenable to not connecting the roof and all the site drainage into our sewer system, which we're trying to
Has to go
lower the
into-
flows to? And then I was
Has to
surprised.
go
I remember I
yeah.
missed a meeting, and then I came back and it was tied into the sewer system. And I thought they were amenable to having some on-site storm system so that we weren't, like when projects like this come along, we shouldn't be continuing to allow people to put site drainage into the sewer.
They wouldn't be able to anyway, Tim, because they have to put a whole new sewer line in. Because the sewer line now goes underneath the school,
Uh-huh.
and they have to take that out, or they're gonna cap it and put in new drains on the outskirts of the building. And tie
Wait a
in.
second. Wait. Rewind here. We're saying that the sewer ties into the drainage?
Drainage ties into the sewer.
The roof
So the
drains
roof
are
drain-
tied into the sewer line right
It's
now.
Not the drainage, not the sanitary sewer.
Yes.
Where?
Sanitary sewer
The roof drains are tied into the sanitary sewer?
into the wastewater treatment system.
No, where does it say
I-
that?
I never. That's not the way I understood it. I
No,
don't
that's
think they
news-
can.
that's
I
news.
don't think that's. I
I thought
wouldn't.
this was in the first meeting, so.
Yes. And it was
Let me
confirmed.
get to their revised engineering plan. That, no.
Call Dave Tiller tomorrow, Rob.
So to me, this is a big issue for projects like this, and that I think we should be
A lot of the older
decoupling.
buildings in town, they tied them into the wastewater treatment system.
And Pat reviewed this, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
I can't see. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah.
That's not how I understood it.
So when I brought this up at the meeting,
Very first meeting.
there was a lot of, oh, that's the way it already is. That's existing. And so I said, well, I explained, we're trying to get fewer flows into our overburdened system, and this would be one of them. And we can have some site drainage. And they said, we'll look into that. Then I missed the next meeting. And when I saw the plans, I was like, oh, I guess we're not getting this.
No. I don't buy this. This doesn't seem right.
No, I thought they tied it into a catch basin, into a storm sewer or something.
Well, I'm trying to see this on the existing conditions plan that they've got, and I don't see it anywhere on the existing conditions plan. I'm trying to figure out how this came out. I mean, I don't remember this at all. I see no connections whatsoever for roof drains. I see nothing that says roof drains. Tim, do you remember what plan you saw it on?
I asked the question because I didn't see it. I asked the question, they said all of the roof drains tie into the sewer.
I'm sorry I missed that. I don't remember there being any roof drains on the building.
What about the proposed plan? Does it show a roof drain going into a sanitary manhole?
No.
They go into the stormwater.
It's not talking about it. It's not talking about it. I don't see any roof drains on this at all. Change and propose abandoned interior sewer, see architectural plan, landing, cast iron pipe, proposed, there's a sub drain. I see a proposed sub drain. And I think that's only because that subterranean set of stairs that goes down to get to the building on the church side of the Holy Family School.
Yeah,
So I think that's the sub drain.
it shouldn't tie into the sewer.
No, it ties into the drain. It ties into the drain line that ties into the proposed manhole out in front, which is tied. It's actually a CB right now. They're turning it into a manhole, so that's still on drainage.
Yeah.
I'm thinking somebody said something wrong because I don't see where they would have had to. They literally would have had to put this on the plan. I think they were talking about storm sewer and not.
Yeah.
They Tiller checked on it, and it is tied into the municipal sewer system. And that was one of the big things that they want, why they wanted that clay pipe removed or capped. To get the roof drains out of there for the I&I.
Get to the architectural plans and see what the hell's going on there. Traffic. Nothing there. Lighting plan. Something, okay. Architectural plans don't show any roof drainage. And I agree there's gotta be.
Hey, Rob, why don't you just say what we want them to do? I mean, Greg, don't you think that they should just put them into like separate roof drains and make it a condition?
Yeah.
Oh, got a question.
Yes.
Got a question. On the existing conditions plan, I don't know if this is the current one or what, dated 1/19/2021. There's a drainage, there's a storm drain line that goes to a catch basin.
Yep, but storm drain is still drainage. It's not, it's not sewer. See, there used to be a point where everybody called it the sewer system.
Yeah.
You watch, you read the book It, and it talks about the storm, it talks about the sewer system.
Yeah.
No, it's drainage. It's drainage. If Dave is seriously saying that this goes into the sewer system, that the roof drainage goes into the sewer system, no. We can't have
Make it a
that.
condition
Well,
that
let's
it's
just-
gonna
let's
go
just
into
have it-
dry wells.
Have a condition that all drains, surface and subsurface, shall not be tied into this sanitary sewer system.
That's simple.
Yeah.
Should we add where we want them to go?
They would have to, that should be all worked out. If it's not worked out, they're gonna have to work it out as a part of
Yeah.
the condition. This will clarify the whole thing. If they were proposing to use the sanitary sewer system to dispose runoff, whether it be roof, surface, or groundwater, then they're gonna have to come back to us to amend this condition, or, but I think if we put that in there, we're covered. I don't think it's an issue. I don't think they intend on tying any type of drainage
No.
into the sanitary sewer system. So I think it's a non-issue, but it's something that will cover us. It's
I'll call Dave tomorrow and get it and because honestly, I feel like this is the first time.
Call Pat.
Pat's not gonna know.
No,
If
he
Pat
won't
didn't
do
catch
it.
it, if Pat didn't catch it right now,
Yeah, you didn't see anything on the plans that indicate any runoff, whether it be roof, surface, or groundwater tying into the sanitary sewer system, right?
I'm looking at the existing conditions plan, dated 4/12/22.
Yeah.
All right, that's the last version that I have, and I'm looking on here, and it doesn't say anywhere on here.
Yeah, I didn't see anything. I mean, I could have missed it, but I didn't see anything like that.
No, that would have been a huge issue. If I had, again, maybe I probably wasn't paying attention, but, and I don't see it listed on as an existing condition.
And even in the proposed condition, there's nothing tying into the sanitary sewer except for the sanitary.
Yeah, there's no
Oh.
talk of roof drains on either plan.
So we're going to confirm and condition.
Absolutely, Tim, you rock. Thank you for bringing this up.
And please report back, because I'm really curious now.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is not the city of Boston. This is not how this works. That's not how this is going to work.
Even Boston is getting rid of combined sewers.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
It's just something, if it is, in fact, if there are buildings in town, I think we have this big problem. It's the I&I.
You wouldn't believe how many buildings are tied into the sewer system,
Yeah. So we need
private and commercial.
So
In the
why
town.
get, and again, it's a discussion for another topic. Why don't you guys just terminate it?
They have been going out blocking them
Okay.
and making them pay to discharge out on their own property.
Okay. Unbelievable. What were you all guys thinking?
That's old. guys.
how we did it in my day.
It was an existing condition.
I was only 8 years old when they.
How
put this
everybody
stuff.
did it in my day.
Yeah, exactly.
When we had cold heating.
So I'm gonna make a few phone calls. We'll figure that out tomorrow. I'll figure that out tomorrow. I will report back to everybody when I find out all this information. But still keep it in there as a condition that maybe come into play. What else? What else we gotta think about? Again, it's still construction traffic. We gotta look at that. The signage plan, I think everybody was happy with that. We've got a draft. We've got a draft A&R plan, so that's good. Where did they put the waiver list? Was the waiver list in with letters existing Form A, exhibit, site plan grading, to do, full dimension, snow removal waivers list.
Oh, yeah.
Second to last document in the final filing. Is there any? As I thought it was. Let me see. Here it is. All right, real quick. They're saying 415-11, R4 Residence District, the permitted principal use is multifamily residence. I don't know why they put this in here. They don't need an exemption. They're not requesting one. 415-22, maximum number of dwelling units for the 32,670. They're asking for an exemption. Minimum side yard setback 15. They're asking for an exemption. It's a pre-existing condition of 10.62 feet. All parking spaces are required in this bylaw. Required by this bylaw shall be a minimum of 10 by 20 in length. They're asking for all 9 by 18. You okay with that? Reasonable? All right. All residential zones and parking areas, loading areas, used for access, egress, or on-site circulation shall be set back. This is the 10-foot buffer. This is 415-22A2. Right now, the visitor spaces setback is 2.2 feet, which I don't have the plan in front of me again, but I believe that was an existing condition. I'll have to look at that. 415-22F5D. Looking for F1, F2, and F3, the conversions of schools, retail, wholesale establishments. Okay, they're looking for a special permit, exemption not required, so we don't have to worry about that. 415-22G1A. The following uses shall require a submission of a traffic impact report to the planning board, which would still be us in this case, the proposed construction of 25 or more residential units. They're asking for an exemption. We never asked for one. So I thought Pat said that they didn't meet the threshold.
They were over by like 2 units or something.
And I think Pat was okay with that without requesting that.
Is the spirit of that supposed to be if they're actually building a brand new building with 25 units as opposed to basically renovating?
Yeah.
More than 25% renovations.
I can understand why. You didn't require that. So an exemption is fine. I think an exemption is fine there. Consultant review requirement. We already had him look at it, and he said there was nothing to look at.
Aren't they putting a subsurface drain in?
No. I thought they were at first, but they're not.
They're not putting one in. I thought the plan showed one.
I thought it did too, but the thing, either things changed or I'm looking at it wrong because all I saw was a new catch basin going to a drain manhole, another catch basin going to a drain manhole, that sub drain, which is only to cover the recessed stairs or the stairs down. That's all going to existing drainage. Everything else new was going to existing drainage. There was nothing on site that was going to cover anything. So they're asking for the consultant review requirement to be exempted through this stage, yes, but not through the construction phase.
No.
Okay, it's 415-22H. As long as that's only through the construction, as long as that's only through the permitting phase, then an exemption is fine.
Do we note
415.
that?
Say again.
Do we note that somewhere?
Who's got the, hold on, I do. Let's get this up here. That's enough. All right, so there's my plan back up. Just pull my zoning back up here. Rockland, zoning code. There. What was my number?
415.22H.
415.22H. 415-22H. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Consultant review requirement. The town of Rockland may charge an applicant or proponent of any project which requires any permit or approval from a local board or agency of the town of Rockland, which involves the construction, replacement, reconstruction, conversion, expansion, and demolition of structures or facilities. A peer review fee for compliance with federal, state procedures shall be governed by some. That's all through the permitting stage. So we're not going to. So we can waive that.
Okay.
All right. So that's 22.
Are we gonna have him look at the drainage before they backfill it and stuff?
That's through the construction. So that's a separate issue. So we don't have to worry about that. 415-58, no building excavation or foundation act shall be initiated. Same thing, shall be initiated unless a site plan is first submitted and approved and a building permit is issued. Yeah, no.
That's right.
We're not waiving that. Site plan review and approval. They're going through that right now. So isn't that moot? If they're already going through it.
The change in the site.
But they're already going through it with us.
Right.
So I feel like an exemption here is not warranted. I feel like it's denied as moot because they're already going through it with us.
Yes.
I think that same language applies, right?
I think so. 415-89A, a special permit shall be required to construct or otherwise establish any of the specific types of uses so identified within this bylaw, which shall only be permitted upon issuance of a special permit. They're already getting a special permit. This is a comp permit. It's a very special permit.
The most special permit of all.
Exactly. So why are they asking for they're like asking for, and it's under section 11, entitled enforcement. Again, I feel like that should be denied as moot because they're getting the special permit. Once they get the special permit, they can take it to the building department with approved plans and get a permit. So I feel like that should be denied as moot. Two more. Again, design review board, 415-93A, all commercial shall be subject to the design review board regardless of their location in Rockland. 415-94.B, condominium developments are subject to a review by the design review board. This is not condos. This is apartments. So that last one should be denied as moot because it doesn't apply. And again, the waiver that they're looking for, industrial sites that are constructed subject to the design review board, regardless of their location in Rockland. I think that should be denied as moot too, because they're going through it. We're doing the design review as we speak. So
What section is that?
those are those last two are the last two waivers, page 2. And this is coming from the submission dated. I'm gonna get to the date on this. As of, let's see, the letter was written April 14th,
Okay,
2022.
okay. So it's 415-94B.
Let me just get back to it. Come on. Oh, Jesus. There we go. The last two that I've got on here was 415-93.A, 415-94.B.
But B is denied as moot.
I believe that it should be. I think the other one should also be denied as moot.
93A
Yep, 93A.
and then 89A.
I believe that should be because the special permit shall be required to construct. They're getting the special permit. They're getting a very special permit.
All right, we're gonna deny 415-58.
59 should be denied as moot. 58 is going to be denied.
Okay,
Not as moot, but denied.
okay, yep.
Consultant review fee, we can say that that's exempt.
I have a question on the fees.
Yep.
So we agreed, or you guys agreed to, we're not gonna hold fees and we're not gonna collect money. They're gonna pay any expenses within 30 days of an invoice. Can we do that? That's what we're gonna do, right?
No, we have to have money up front. Why? Who's looking for money at this point?
I thought, when we were talking about the exemptions for 320 Concord Street, for Pat to be like on site when they're doing like the fill and the compacting.
That I don't know. That I don't know how his fee structure works. I don't know if they have to put in for that. I don't know how that works.
But we talked about having the developer pay the invoices within 30 days of receipt.
If that's how, is that language that you already saw in there?
No, that's what we talked about.
Okay, as long as if there's a specific procedure for that, I don't know if there's a specific procedure for his on-site review during construction. I don't know.
We'll have a standard condition that says that the applicant shall give notice to the board's peer review consultant who shall attend at the cost of the applicant.
Okay. So the funds don't have to come through us per se.
They'll have to keep a deposit. You know, we'll probably ask them for like a $10,000 deposit.
Oh, we have to, okay, so we have to do that
We'll
then.
require them to do that as a condition of approval, and we'll draw down on it. And, you know, when it falls down below $2,000, they'll have to replenish it if it does.
Okay.
Oh, there's I never knew how that worked. Now I know.
Pat Brennan conditions, I think that was one of the first ones.
Was it?
On
Okay.
there, and I think it's at $5,000.
All right, so we got Pat's conditions there. Deb, do you need me to go through the rest of the waivers? Are you good?
Nope, I'm good.
There's all the waivers there.
Mr. Chairman, just one question, and I don't know if it is a waiver, requires a waiver or whatever. But to get them out of the moratorium on street openings.
We talked about this.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this. Yeah, we're gonna have to waive that.
Okay.
We're gonna have to waive the moratorium, but we're gonna have to make sure to condition it that they abide by, and I don't know if it's recommendations of Dave Taylor or if it's requirements of the highway department for the curb to curb,
right?
You know, for the curb to curb.
Mill and pave.
Yeah, I don't know. And again,
It's a policy of the highway.
it is so abide by the highway department's policy for curb to curb refurbishment or something?
No, mill and pave,
Mill and pave?
yeah.
Mr. Baker, can you see about getting Deb a copy of that? So again,
Yeah.
not necessarily to attach into here, but definitely for something so she has a copy of it.
I actually think I already have it.
Do? Perfect. If you have a, if you have a copy.
So the moratorium, I thought that that street is beyond the moratorium. Del Priyat, right?
I talked to Dave, he said it's not.
It was on a 5-year moratorium. Because that was basically done the first year Dave was here. And that was over 6 years ago.
Right.
Thought he said, I asked him, and he
5-year
said it was
moratorium.
under- he said it was under the moratorium. That's right, that's what he told me. Again, it's, Deb, can you throw in
To
a
be
call?
on the safe side, we'll waive it.
I just let's double check. I mean, if it is the case, we're gonna waive it, but let's just make sure that we don't have to waive it. You know, I don't think it's gonna be an issue. Deb, if you don't mind, if you can shoot him a message tomorrow and see if we can just confirm that.
Mm-hmm.
Rocking. What's next?
One of the other conditions would like to see is that they Form A those 2 lots through the planning board.
Oh, they have to. It's they've already put out the, they've given us a draft A&R plan. And I talked to Mike Corbett about this. I talked to John Lucas about this. I don't know if we have to condition this as such, but I told them that I would review the plan, you know, prior to their meeting to make sure that it has everything on there. I had thought maybe that we throw the specifics when it comes to what we're waiving when it comes to the zoning bylaw, make them put a table on there. So there's a table on there so everybody knows what got waived. That's stereotypical of A&R plans when the zoning board gets involved. Not necessarily when there's a 40, when it's a 40B, a comp permit like this, but anytime that there's a variance or something like this that's attached to a piece of property, usually those things are listed on the face of the A&R plan. So if there is if we can, I would say that one of the conditions should be that any and all zoning waivers shall be listed on the face of the A&R plan. At least that way, the planning board has confidence that we've already looked at every single thing and we've already waived it or granted the variance or whatever we're doing. That would be nice.
Should that be put on the documents going to the registry of deeds too?
Oh, yeah, no, that would be, the comp permit has to be recorded. That's number one. Number two, the A&R plan absolutely has to be recorded. And technically a new deed for they don't have to redo the deed for the church. They technically don't. But it would be nice if they redid the deed for the church to refer to the recorded plan that separates this lot into 2 individual lots. It would be nice to make that, it would be nice. It would just make it a hell of a lot cleaner. So if somebody ever has to do a survey for the church again, there's a specific deed that refers to a specific plan that was done in 2022. I wouldn't mind seeing a condition that stated that a new deed for the church needs to be rewritten. That's not going to be that bad.
The church and the rectory.
Absolutely. Yeah, the church and the rectory and all those other buildings are all going to be on one piece.
In the outbuilding.
Yeah, and then the school's going to be its own. That's going to get its own new deed anyway. I'd just like to see a new deed for the remainder of the church parking lot, so there is a reference and nobody has to deal with this ever again. Next.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a second. Roll call. I'm most definite. Oh, wait a second, wait, Mr. Galvin. Mr. Galvin, are you waving by or are you?
I'm almost asleep over here.
All right, I'm sorry, sir. All right, got a motion, got a second. I'm good. Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.,
Yes.
Mr. Tansy.
Yes.
Get out of here. Smoke them if you got them.
All right.
Night,
Take care,
everybody.
guys.
Everyone.
All right,
Take care.
and-
Bye.
and
Good night.
Thank you for